a day when we thought we'd be talking about Selection Sunday, March Madness, college baseball, everything else going on in the sports world, we're dealing with sports world gone dark. Welcome to Double T Insider. I'm Robert Giovanetti alongside Taylor Peters. And Taylor, it's so much more than that, but just from our perspective and dealing with what we're dealing with, it's strange times here for us in college athletics.
So hard. I mean, even coming to work, even doing this show and approaching a normal life when literally nothing is the same as it was last week. And that's the thing that's so crazy to me, is how quickly this fallout happened. I mean, we're in Kansas City with the men's and women's basketball teams for the Big 12 tournament, and within 24 hours, I mean, so much had changed, not only in the sports world, in college athletics for the Big 12 tournaments, and then, you know, the next day we would find out that it was going to be a lot bigger than just basketball.
Yeah, I think at one point we thought that things would pick up back in April, at least, you know, early April, mid-April, but now we know that the rest of the season is canceled. We had to deal with a lot of our fans who were season ticket holders for baseball and had bought tickets for softball, and hopefully those people have received their phone calls right now from the ticket office. If you've not received those calls, you can call the ticket office and leave a message, or email us and go online at texastech.com, and we'll take care of all those ticket situations for you. But Taylor, sometimes when you're talking about this, it almost seems really minor, really, in the grand scheme of things when you think of the health issues and the health concerns and the health scares. But the student athletes for us is first and foremost concerned beyond just our own personal families.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a little bit on the show before. You know, for a lot of people there are millions of people across the country who enjoy watching sports and love watching sports. And while you and I are certainly part of that, it's also the livelihood of our coaches and our coaches' families, and certainly for our student athletes who have invested over the course of their lives so many hours and so much time just into being able to play in college. And so, you know, your heart really hurts for all of those people who are connected to those sports. You know, you look at our baseball team, who really had a great opportunity to do some incredible things in the postseason this year. But for every single person that's connected, it's just so hard right now.
I think the thing that strikes me is you think back to last spring and what a great spring we had, and some of those great memories we had from basketball and baseball and track and field. And that's the great thing about sports, right? It unifies us and it brings us together as a community. Everyone loves it. Everyone's on board. Everyone's talking about it. And that's just taken away from you. It's stark.
It is so strange, too, to think about. I mean, we have potentially 5 months until we're able to be connected again through sports. And that's the cool part about being able to work in college athletics, is that it unites, you said that, it unites people from totally different backgrounds with totally different interests, and it brings them all together where they can, you know, celebrate 15, 12 kids who are really, really good at what they do, and they're led by a head coach who's really passionate about his job or her job. And you know, sports is powerful, and I think that we're going to look back on this time and realize that, and there's just so much that happened in a short amount of time, and it will influence us moving forward.
We'll hear from one of those coaches later. You'll talk to Coach Matt Wells. When we come back, we'll hear from our athletics director, Kirby Hocutt. Stay with us here on Double T Insider. Welcome back to Double T Insider. We're now joined by Texas Tech Director of Athletics, Kirby Hocutt. Kirby, long career in athletics. Have you ever seen anything like what we're going through right now?
Never. It was an interesting 72 hours a week ago. I think actually started to evolve on Tuesday, and conversations more about the virus and how it was impacting the world. And but as far as we knew, college sports was going to continue. It was going to go on, and we were heading to Kansas City on Tuesday for the Big 12 basketball tournament, and as we know now, things changed rapidly.
Yeah, take us through that a little bit. You went, and not only Big 12 uses these conference tournaments not only to play basketball, but to have meetings of the different groups. And so you were in a meeting with the senior women administrators, the faculty athletic reps, general counsel, and you guys went through your normal business meeting. That's on Wednesday, and you're thinking, hey, I've got some other events to go to, but we got basketball tomorrow, but it didn't work that way.
No, it didn't. I had a breakfast with a small group last Wednesday morning, Commissioner Bowlesby included, and at that point in time, the information from the health officials in Kansas City was the tournament was a go. There was no risk in playing in front of a large gathering or a crowd. And then we had the meeting that you mentioned from 1 to 3 o'clock last Wednesday afternoon. At 3 o'clock, the commissioner adjourned the meeting and said, athletic directors, can you please stay behind? he had just received a communication from the medical advisory team from the NCAA stating that the NCAA had made the decision that they were going to play without fans for the tournament. So we talked about it for about 30 minutes, the impact that was going to have on the Big 12 tournament. We wanted to get the council of the CEOs, the presidents. So we went up to Commissioner Bowlesby's room at the Marriott Hotel. We're pull out a phone, and the 10 of us or 11 of us are surrounded the telephone, and we've got all the presidents on the phone, and Commissioner Bowlesby is walking them through the situation. And then that ultimately led to the decision that the Big 12 tournament was going to continue, but we were going to play without fans, except the Wednesday night games. Commissioner had already made the decision that those 2 games were going to continue as planned, and that was the direction at about 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and then the NBA situation unfolded.
Right, and they had a case there. They ended up canceling the games that night. They ended up canceling or suspending the season. The next day, Thursday, before we even tip, our team's on the floor, and the decision was made to go ahead and cancel the Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, and through this whole period of time, we were getting counsel from the University of Kansas Hospital medical team and a group of doctors in Kansas City. Health professionals were monitoring the situation, and probably 35, 40 minutes before our game was to tip off against the University of Texas, the mayor of Kansas City comes out and declares the city of Kansas City in a state of emergency. The health officials then provide the council that recommendation that the tournament should be called off. So as this was unfolding in Kansas City, we were talking to our counterparts in the Southeastern Conference, the Big Ten Conference, the Atlantic Coast Conference, and similar conversations were taking place throughout the country, as well as with the NCAA Basketball Tournament Selection Committee, which was in New York City.
And it ended up they cancel the remainder of competition through the end of the spring. NCAA cancels all winter and spring championships, and so there are a lot of implications for that, not only for our student athletes, but for the general public, our fans, all that. We'll talk about that when we come back with Kirby. And again, lots going on here. It's kind of strange, unsettling time in all of the world, not just in college athletics. And we'll do more of that with Kirby when we come back. Stay with us here on Double T Inside. Welcome back to Double T Inside. Robert Giovanetti alongside Kirby Hocutt, and we've been talking about the effects of COVID-19 and the coronavirus on college athletics and Texas Tech. And Kirby, you played college sports, and you think about where we are right now, what basketball team was prepared to do. We had such a great baseball program this year. Women's basketball is going to go to the WNIT, then all the other sports, men's golf. All these sports and student athletes impacted, and we realize the greater good about why all these things are done, but can you speak to just how hard it was for these student athletes to find this news out?
I don't know if I can or not. I think that for the general public, it's a passion of so many of our fans and alumni, and we're fortunate for that they follow and watch from a distance, and sometimes in attendance our student athletes compete. But I was never in their position of training your entire life or over the course of 5 or 6 years to experience what is in the months ahead or what is in the minutes ahead for our basketball teams, and to have that taken away from you in an instance, I don't know if I can fully expect, but I know from talking to our coaches, talking to our athletes, extreme disappointment. Felt like something was just taken away from them. Not maybe understanding everything, but knowing that this was bigger than college sports.
Yeah, and that was an important issue that I think you had on your mind once you landed back from Kansas City, to communicate with our coaches, communicate with our student athletes, and I think we've done a good job, and we're going to take care of our student athletes through this time as well. We are.
You know, as we were in Kansas City dealing with the conference situation, we were in communication, obviously, with our folks, our team members still here in Lubbock, and our director of operations, our head coaches that were on the road. We were dealing with the situation. Obviously, we were with the 2 basketball teams in Kansas City as this was unfolding. But we also had our golf teams were on the road. Our men's golf team was in Arizona. Our women's golf team was in Georgia. Our men's tennis team was scheduled to be in California, and they had made the decision on Tuesday night not to travel to California. Our women's tennis team was scheduled to go to Ames, Iowa, play Iowa State on Friday, and then go to Morgantown, West Virginia to play. And they got on that flight Thursday morning at 8 o'clock and made it to Ames. And then as all of this unfolded, they returned back to campus. I received a call from Shane Lyons, my counterpart at West Virginia, Thursday around 12:30, and he told me his baseball team would not be making the trip to Lubbock for last weekend's series. So these things were unfolding, and our attention quickly turned from Kansas City and everything that was unfolding there to our 400 athletes and what they were experiencing, where they were, how do we safely get them back home.
And we did that, and I know it's something we're all going to maneuver through these next couple of weeks of they can't work out at the facilities, they can't do certain things, but we'll certainly have director of ops and the coaching staffs all working with these student athletes and making sure they're all taken care of throughout this period.
Yeah, if you fast forward into then what transpired, the Big 12 Conference agreed that we were going to shut down literally for 2 weeks, that we were going to ensure distancing, that we were going to ensure safety. And that's exactly what happened. So we were working with our student athletes as spring break was extended for a second week on campus to just make sure we knew where all of our student athletes were going to be over this 1 week, 2 week period, to make sure they all had residence, place to live, that their nutrition was taken care of, any medical needs they had were taken care of as well.
All right, Kirby, a lot to maneuver. We appreciate your leadership through this, and a lot of people, a lot of teams affected. One of those teams, when we come back, we'll hear from Coach Matt Wells. Head football coach Taylor will sit down with Coach Wells and get his thoughts. Stay with us here on Double T Insider.
Welcome back into Double T Insider. I'm Taylor Peters alongside Texas Tech head football coach Matt Wells. Coach, first of all, I just appreciate your time. This is just such a bizarre sort of situation that we're kind of all having to deal with right now. Just first and foremost, what's kind of going through your mind? What are you thinking in this really unprecedented time of sports?
Well, the first thing you think of is your family, safety, the health of not just your immediate family, but your Tech family, and so it's our players, our coaches, their families, all of that. And you're operating within the bounds of what the NCAA sets out, what the Big 12 sets out, what Kirby sets out for us, and trying to navigate it all. The hardest part probably for every one of us is just the unknown, and because this coronavirus is it's invisible, right? It's hard to see, it's hard to predict. And you don't know, but I also think we have a citizens kind of Lubbock, a citizen of Lubbock responsibility to do our part in trying to slow down the spread of the virus or slow down the chances of somebody else getting it or whatever. So I think that you have to act responsible, and I think we all play a part in that.
And the Big 12 and the NCAA, Kirby, they've all certainly been responsible in kind of their decision making right now. And I was in Kansas City for the Big 12 basketball tournament when all of this information sort of comes out. When you're sort of going through these events and you're living it and you're trying to find a way to communicate this to your staff and your players, did you get a chance to meet with them all together when these kind of came? What do you tell your team?
Yeah, I think you just try to be real. You try to be transparent. Tell them what you know. Tell them how we're going to handle it today, and give them some direction. And I think that more than anything is the most important thing that I could have done, and we certainly did that Thursday. When a couple hours after our basketball team got pulled off the floor, I ended up canceling that scrimmage on that Thursday afternoon, and I think our players understood. Then we met with them on Friday morning, and then by the end of that day, something else had happened, and school's getting canceled for another week, and they're not able to come into our facility and that kind of stuff. So we just try to do a good job of communicating with them, keeping them in the loop, knowing where they're at, communicating with them, and then assuring them that we truly believe everything's going to be okay, but we also have a responsibility to help kind of mitigate this virus.
When your coaching staff is still kind of able to, make calls to the players right now, still able to do some recruiting within some parameters that the NCAA has set. But what are you asking for your team right now, kind of in this odd hiatus that we're in, when they're not able to kind of be lifting in an organized setting?
Yeah. Well, we're taping this. I don't know when it's going to be aired, but we're taping this on spring break. So technically, we're on spring break right now. They've got workouts and stuff to do. School's over. Now we don't have school for 2 weeks, so just kind of working out on their own, and obviously trying to find a facility and a place to do that is going to be a challenge for some of them. And we trust and hope that they're doing that for the most part, just to kind of keep in shape and at least stay same as over the next couple weeks. Not able to use our facilities, unfortunately, but and again, hopefully in a couple weeks we are able to give them some more direction on what we're doing here with meetings and practice, or maybe no meetings and no practice, and so we'll have to improvise and adjust when we get to that point.
Yeah, the most important thing, like you said, is just being able to kind of continue to communicate with your team. So I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate your leadership and being able to work with Kirby to keep us all safe here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back on Double T Insider.
Used to, when we'd coordinate from the middle of the defense, because a lot of the adjustments came up front with the run fits and trying to impact the quarterback. And I think somewhere here over the last 10 years with all the spread up-tempo offenses, a lot of the adjustments in the course of a game come from the back end. I just feel a little bit more comfortable back there, just helping guys develop confidence as well as making adjustments in the course of a game.
Welcome back to Double T Insiders. You saw there, we're going to have lots of great content still. Even though we're not playing sports, we'll have great content, so stay with us on all of our social media, on texastech.com, and try to stay connected, right? We have so many great stories of our student athletes, and we'll try to check in on what they're doing and what our coaches are doing, but we don't want people to forget about us and go away and know that we're still here.
No, that's important, and even despite the fact that our student athletes aren't on campus right now, they won't be on campus next week with the university kind of making a decision to keep them at home. We are still going to have a lot to celebrate with our student athletes and with the success that many of our programs have already had this year. So yeah, if you follow us on social media, that's great. You'll continue to receive great content from us, and if you don't, go do that right now.
Yeah, you need to do that, and you've got plenty of time on your hands, so go ahead and follow us on social media. This is going to be our last show of the year in this format. We'll be back, I guess, in August and talking about football. But Taylor, been a great year.
It has been such a good year, Gio. It's been awesome to be able to do this show with you and for you guys. This is what we love to do, and being able to talk about Texas Tech athletics is a great opportunity every time that we get to. So
for Taylor Peters, I'm Robert Rubin. Thanks so much for watching us all year long. Stay healthy. We'll see you next fall. Wreck 'em.
And if you missed any part of today's show, head on over to texastech.com or download the Texas Tech TV app on Apple TV and Roku.
This has been a presentation from Learfield IMG College.